So let's dive into this. Tell everyone, if you don't mind, you mentioned that you are somebody that doubts yourself a lot. I love, A, that you admitted that because everyone can relate. Can you talk about that? And then also how you were able to have the confidence to jump in to this business model and then get to $7,200 with all that you have going on?
It's a little bit of a long story, but I'll sum it up. Out here, there's not really jobs that pay well. My husband and I actually got on at a local paper mill that made national news for getting shut down a couple months ago. I had to go out after a C-section went bad, couldn't lift anymore, so I couldn't handle the job. Really left with nothing because nobody will hire you here if you can't lift 35 pounds, not even Walmart. So I got really angry. I hit a lot of depression there for a little bit because it's like I finally got the family I wanted and now I lose the job that I fought tooth and nail to get. So I came home and while I was stuck on bed rest, I started tinkering around. I tried some e-com stuff. No luck. I tried affiliate marketing. That was a waste of time. And just kind of jumped from thing to thing, not really feeling any of it. Found out I was pregnant with my son and had a ton of complications there. The month before he was born, I actually stumbled across your group and I joined and I was like, you know, it's another thing to mark off the list if it doesn't work. And I got in and I started seeing everybody in there. And I'm like, how are they doing this? And so I actually reached out to several people and I was asking questions. And that's when you messaged me and you were like, hey, you're asking the right questions. You need another group. And I'm like, okay. And then I remember you scheduled me.
And I do remember that because it's very, very rare that I'll ever like even notice that. But I just specifically kept remembering your posts. And I do remember that. I remember I reached out and I was just like, hey, I don't ever do this. And guys, God is my witness. You could go through my messages. You could talk to anyone. I've got like 5 people that have access to my Facebook and my Messenger. I don't do that. I don't really have time to do that. But something is like, just reach out and we chatted. And I remember like we had to really get creative, but we made it work. So anyway, continue with your story. I just wanted to make note. I do remember that very, very vividly. And thank goodness that I did.
But I remember you asked me if I wanted to join the digital landlords group. I was like, you know, it's worth a shot. I mean, I've got nothing else I can do, literally. There's nowhere else hiring. Everything's shutting down, especially in the middle of COVID. I went and I talked to my husband and my mom, and they're both like, you're just going to get scammed. And I'm like, well, you know, I don't have any other option right now, so I'm going to take the risk. And I remember I talked to you, I got in, and I binge watched everything in like 3 days. And then I started kind of formulating my plan and then started cranking and just pushed through everything going on. In short, our house got flooded. We had to move with 2 small kids and then got moved back into the house. Then found out the paper mill was closing, moved 3 states away for a job. On day 1, my husband walks in and they tell him, oh, we don't need you now. We hired too many people. It's been a mess. So we just got settled back in up here about 3 months ago and just grinding and piecing a team together and trying to catch you.
I love that. So, man, I actually didn't even know all those details. So that I would have had you on even earlier than this. I didn't realize. And for anyone out there, again, guys, I wanted Heather to come on because I knew that she had very little time. I mean, any of you that have kids, yeah. I know that women are built differently, but like you got the kids. Not only did you have the kids that you're watching full time, and I mean that like that's what you do. I didn't know any of this other stuff. And then it sounds like you moved for a job, and then that was job. So then when you came back, then your husband's now still looking for a job. Like it's just a lot.
Yeah.
But you did it. So most people in your shoes, I hear this all the time. People will drop a post maybe in Digital Landlords and they'll be like, hey, I've been in this group and now it's time to get serious, or I've been in this group and now I lost my job and now I've got to make this work. I see this stuff from time to time and I'm like, yeah, I love that you are kind of like drawing a line in the sand. But most people, they just go and like dump a bucket of water on that line and then they're just like, you don't hear from them, right? It's like there's really no line in the sand. They're back doing whatever. So I guess what I'm curious about is you drew a line in the sand because you're like, I have to make this work. I actually can't lift 35 pounds. The job that I thought I had, like I can't go back to. Backs up against the wall. Why did it work for you? Why did you make it work when everybody else seems like they're in just as bad of a situation? And I mean that like they're just as backed against the wall. And I never hear from them again and they somehow end up back in a 9 to 5 in the same position they were in. So like what was it? Was it something that cracked inside of your spirit that you're like, I cannot live like this any longer? I mean, what was it?
For me, it was a mix of things. My husband and I had a really big mental breakdown. Two small kids. I have lots of health issues. And we just kind of realized we can't manage to take care of ourselves in the boat we're in. And we've got everybody else counting on us too. And I don't want my kids growing up some of the ways we did. And I don't want Christmas to be, can we afford that? I don't want them going to bed at night, some nights hungry. My husband spent a lot of his childhood homeless. So we just kind of agreed that we were going to push through as hard as we could and make it work. So we cashed out retirement and went all in on this.
That's inspiring. Yeah, again, I'm sure that the story is much bigger than this. And I think you could have told a fraction of that and it still would have driven home my point, which is there's no excuse to not make this work.